on your own account make sense of this. But you know, there's no rejection of the preconditions of life. I didn't choose to be built the way that I'm built. I didn't choose to have the senses that I have. What I recognize is I have them, and I'm not going to tell the shark to extract its teeth and to become a pacifist. And I'm also not going to turn my mind into porridge by attempting to homogenize so that other people aren't intimidated by the abilities that I have. I'm not here to intimidate, but I am who I am. Similarly, you sort of initiate to Nietzsche, you have abilities. It's on you to determine what your purpose is, and it is on you to decide what of your abilities are the greatest, put you in a position where you can utilize those abilities to maximize your own ends. Come on, man. That's what it's about. Let's keep it funky, dog. Let's keep it funky. That's what it's about. If you don't want to play that game, then you are watching the wrong channel, because that's all that's about. That's all that it's about, right? So, okay. A little too crunk. Let's regress. Reference to Plato's hierarchy, brief explanation. I mean, the idea, well, there's a link to Plato's hierarchy. So just watch the video. I'm not going to explain it now. You get the idea. The idea is that we progressively reject the body for a conceptual realm of the form, and it's that realm of the form that is truth, right? Nietzsche's like, come on, man, I'm not buying that at all. Obviously, that sort of Platonic hierarchy, Plato's hierarchy of the forms, assuming that the forms exist, is then transposed on the Christian conception of sort of transcendence in another realm of existence. And it's that realm of existence that really has meaning. This is absurd and meaningless. Again, Nietzsche rejects it wholesale. So you can watch that video if you choose, but I'm not going to really discuss it more than that. Alright, so philosophers as artists. Ah, what a great way to end book 2. Ah, gotta love it. Philosophers as artists. There is a truth for me personally, and if I had another life to live, I would choose to be born not with this great sort of analytic ability. I would really honestly choose to be born with sort of a gift of like sort of perceptive abilities in art. I mean, like abstract but also very real. I would love to be able to paint or to draw. The stuff that I have in my head is ridiculous, but I have zero inclination to really draw. It sucks. My art is non-existent, so I consume art. My office is filled with nothing but art. And not art in its expensive sense as much as art in its real sense. Art as very, very high context, sort of still shots of life, right? High context means in which we come to our own interpretation of the images that we are presented. Because it's in this sort of milieu of sense data that, for me, I arrive at a state of awe, a state that there's something bigger than me. Art is that state. You sit down and you watch a profound piece of art. You watch a play. You listen to an opera. You go to a concert. You go to a Jay-Z concert or whatever, right? You're in awe at the artist. I think, for me personally, where I'm going as an academic, and this is my goal, part of my purpose in life, is to arrive at a state, for me, where my analytic writing emulates sort of the writing of a more narrativized piece, but it still has that philosophical rigor. I love that sort of structured, logical, almost recipe, formulaic writing. If this happens, then this happens, and this happens, and that. Very sort of mechanized writing. I like writing like that. I like reading things like that. I'm not personally big into sort of the more sort of sort of loosely constructed formulations, though some of the deepest philosophers, especially, you know, the post-structuralists, structuralists, that style of writing is very sort of open. Me, I'm systems guy, so I like structure and rigor in my writing. But I think the convergence of sort of the aphorisms of Nietzsche, that style, with Spinoza's sort of logical reductive discourse, I think it can arise. You can get at a profound sense of beauty in the text. And for me, you guys have seen me eat this book literally, right? For me, it's about internalizing that ability and making an art form of it, right? Really internalizing the very, very complex and digesting it and being able to offer it to a community of consumers in an intelligible manner. It's an art form. It really is an art form. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. It requires unrelenting focus. But for me, it's the closest that I'll ever, personally, as a philosopher, get to participate in art. So I have to make art of what it is that I'm best at, right? I'm not going to pull that tooth out. I'm going to keep it, that's what I'm good at, and I'm going to turn it into something that's beautiful, right? I am going to do that, and I've done it already, right? I'm going to continue to do it. So that sets the stage for where we're going. Number one, if we, the new philosophers, right? So Nietzsche hands me the baton. Thank you, Nietzsche. Jason, get to work. Get to work. If we, the new philosophers, have abolished the real world, then the new order of values must follow of its own accord. The construction and analysis of these values is the obligation of the new philosopher, right? That's my phrase. So 1A, the construction and analysis of these new values is the obligation of the new philosophers, right? In the end, when this is all done, if this is ever done, I might be doing this when I'm old and gray or bald or, you know, 80, talking super slow, still doing my lecture series. If this technology is even alive, still around, right? In whatever form it is, right? The idea is that I'm the new philosopher. I graduated 2 years ago. I haven't even been 3 years out of grad school yet. I just got off the press. I just got my PhD. I hit the ball running, I'm going. The new philosophers and you, the next generation after me, it's our responsibility to create this new system of values. You might not use the term system. I'm a systems guy, so I do systems. But if you do ethics, then it's on you to interpret the world in terms of a new ethical paradigm, a new ethical approach, which doesn't reject the material and biological states, right? Rather than borrowing from a tradition that rejects the material and biological states for something else, why not do, for example, like something like what Philippa Foot is doing, right? She's trying to conceptualize an ethic that is rooted in sort of evolutionary biology. More power to you. That's the way we should be thinking, right? Not just to say her. I mean, there's many different ways, right? But just the first thing that came to my mind. The idea is that's the way that we should be approaching our ethic, right? Rather than saying that our ethics is going to emulate some transcendental sort of ethic in which the good is a rejection of my own personal happiness for the greatest happiness, for the greatest good. No. Why not embrace an ethic that says your personal happiness is important, right? And that we suggest or we encourage others to seek their own happiness as an end, but not at the expense of some other human being or blah, 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 blah. I'm not an ethicist, so I don't do that discourse at all. But the idea is, why not adopt that, and that being that paradigm that embraces the ego, the I, the self, as something that should be respected and awed, as a source of beauty, as a source of constructing, a source of constructing meaning in our world, rather than rejecting it, right? So our ethics, our epistemology, our metaphysics, if it still exists after Kant, our ontology, right? All of that should be built on a foundation where the individual embraces our sensuality. Nietzsche's like, dude, new philosophers, come on, man. Enough already. Enough.